And yes, so I'll open developer console.
Smith, can you please share the syllabus of developer module?
Yes, sure, no problem. I'll do that. Just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
I'll drop that in the chat in WhatsApp later. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's proceed with today's session. And what are we going to discuss? So basically, we'll continue working on Apex classes. And yesterday we saw the data types in Apex. We were discussing data types like, let me open the class, open class, and the class name is test1 Apex. And if you remember, yesterday we discussed about the list and sets. Basically, we discussed that we have primitive data types and we have collection data types. So we
Right.
saw how do we create, we have already discussed about the primitive data types. Then we were
Yes.
discussing about collection data types.
Yeah.
And in collection data type, we discussed list and sets.
That. Yeah.
And we also discussed that we also understood the difference between the discuss the difference between the list and set. And the difference is the list that allows duplicates, but the sets does not allow duplicates, right?
Right.
So just in
Yeah.
case if we wanted to store the unique customer data, if we want to store the unique record IDs, for that we can use sets, right?
Right. Yeah.
Let's take an example. For example, I would be querying the data, and I would like to know that we have the let's suppose we have the customers from all around the globe, right? So, for example, we got one. Let's suppose we got 2,000 orders. We have 2,000 orders, right?
Mm-hmm.
2,000 orders. And these 2,000 orders we have received from different customers, but they belongs to different regions. But it may possible from one city we may receive multiple orders, right?
Right.
For example, we receive few orders from Mumbai, few orders from Delhi, few orders from Pune, few orders from Hyderabad, few orders from Bangalore, and different location, different cities. So if I would like to know that I just wanted to find out that we have received the orders from what all locations, what all cities, what all cities. So what we can do then, we can take help of sets, because sets does not allow duplicates. For example, if from Mumbai itself we have received 20 orders, so it won't repeat the Mumbai 20 times. It will give that we have received the orders from Mumbai, from Delhi, from let's say from Pune, from Hyderabad, from Bangalore, and so on. Right? It won't repeat
Right.
the city names. Otherwise, if we use the list, then it will repeat the cities. It will repeat the cities. Let's suppose if there are 20 orders from Mumbai, so 20 it will repeat the Mumbai 20 times like this.
Right.
But there is no point of repeating the city names, right? So
Yeah.
therefore, we will be using the sets. In that case, we can use sets. Then we also discuss that how do we iterate on the list. See, the way I've iterate on a list, in same manner, we can iterate on the sets also, same manner.
Right.
So the function we saw, the size function, this size function is available both for the list as well as for the sets.
Right.
So we can iterate like this or we can iterate like this. Either way is fine. Fine.
Yeah.
Now, there are few more functions about the list and sets.
Okay.
Okay, there are a couple of more functions in list and sets when we talk about the functions. Uh, for example, yeah, let's do one thing. Let's create a new function to make it clear, because public static void test function 3, and I'm just creating a list here. For example, list. So we have 20, 20, 30, 40, 30, 40. For example, I just had this many items.
Right.
Fine. And I'm going to execute this test apex1 dot test function 3. And when we open log and execute, we'll be able to see the response. It will print 10, 20, 30, and all.
Right.
No, I'm talking about the functions, some additional functions in list. So in list, if I want to add some numbers into this, let's suppose we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements. I want to add more elements. So I can do that. How I can do that? I just write here num list dot add, let's say 200, for example. And when I print this, num list dot add 200. And when we print this, let's check it out. Saving, execute. See,
Right.
see that 200 will be added at the end, right? Or
Yeah.
if I want to remove any number, so I can say, so what I can do, I can remove, I can say num list dot remove, and I just want to remove, let's say, 20. I just want to remove 20 from it. And then if I just print it, copy, paste, save this, and debug and execute. Oh, sorry. We have to specify the uh, index number. So I want to remove 20. So I just say 2,
1.
0, 1. Yeah, 0, 1. Save this, open, execute. And when we debug, you can see 20 will be removed from it,
Right.
right? And so we have other functions also. So we have other functions also. For example, I just wanted to, uh, I want to check
If
if,
you want to remove multiple numbers, like three number from this,
no, we have
can
to
we
do it.
specify?
We have to do it one by one,
Oh, okay.
right? I, if I want to remove all the elements, for example, then I just write here num list dot clear.
Okay.
Clear means, but the clear means it will remove everything.
Everything.
Clear means it will remove everything. Save this, open, execute, execute, and you can say num list dot clear. Now this becomes an empty list.
Empty.
Okay, this becomes an empty list.
Empty.
Fine. This one.
Yeah.
If you want to check the size function we have already discussed. So basically, like this way, we used to have uh, like this way we used to have different functions. So you can do one thing, you can explore more functions. So there, what you can do, I will share the Apex reference guide to you. It's an
Right.
official guide from Salesforce. You can follow that guide, and when you follow that guide, you will see a lot of functions will be there. Like clear function is there, right? And
Yeah.
we can add, we can and with the examples actually. Not only this, it will be with the examples,
Okay.
right?
Makes sense.
Now, for example, I want to copy one list into another. So, for example, I write here list integer. Let's say num list two is equals to num list two is equals to new list new space list of integer new list of integer, and bracket I just write here num list system dot debug num list two. So what are we doing here? Uh, we'll copy data from one list into another list. Okay, when I execute this, okay, it's an error is coming up. One second, it's not saved. Not saved now. Let me debug again. Execute, execute, and now when we execute, debug line number 13, line number 15, line number 16. Num list two is equal to new list, and save this. Open, execute, test function 3, execute, debug. Okay, see, it's showing a blank one. Why blank one? Because we have clear there, right? So let me comment this out, and I'm not going to clear this. Basically, I'll just remove this all. I mean, I comment out this also, and yeah, adding is fine, but I comment all of them. And now when we execute this, you can see now the data from one list will be copied into another list. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So like this way, a data will copy from one list to another. That's a copying of data. Copy.
Right.
Right. Now we have the methods like clear method or now, for example, see when we write this add, what happened? It will you can see when we write add, so this will be placed, this will be added at the end of the list. See this at the end of
Right.
the. Now let's suppose if I want to add this 200 at the second position in place of 20, that means at the second position at the zero and index number one. I want to add it at the index number one. Okay.
Right.
So how can I do that? In this case, I can just write here num list dot add. And what we need to do, we need to add the index number. I want to add one index number one, and the value is let's say 400.
Okay.
And now when we print this system dot debug, print, save, and let me comment this out. This is for the this is for copying purpose. So I comment that out. And now let's run it. A system.debug, open, execute, and run. And now you can see this 400 will be placed at index number one. See that at a specific location.
Right.
Like this way, we can add the index at the specific location.
So Sumit, this thing is showing into equal form. When we copying it, these values to the new list, it's not showing the equal sign. That's why that's thing.
Which one?
If you will copy these items into the
One
new
second.
list,
One
it will not
second.
show.
You mean to say this list is equal to list is equal to list is equal to this is
Yeah,
this.
but that one is not showing the list is equal to.
This means if I just run this, see this, and because of this one, list is equal to. I have mentioned a keyword here, na? List is equal to list is equal to
Okay.
because of this. That's a text. Okay.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
so I have mentioned a text. That's the
Right.
here I did not mention. So you can that's a custom text.
Okay.
Got it? That's a
Yeah.
custom text. Clear that? Now uh remove then size. Okay. What also we can do? We can do sorting on this. If I want, I can apply sorting with this. For example, when we say system.debug and we'll be printing it out, when we run, we can see the value like see 100, 420, 30,
Right.
40, 40, 30, 200. This is not sorted, but if I want, I can apply sorting on that. So how do we apply sorting? In order to apply sorting, we can use, let's say, num list dot sort.
Good.
And now I can just write system.debug here. Save this and open, execute, execute, debug. See 10, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, 200, 400. So the list gets sorted.
Yeah.
Okay, this one. Now that this is the list we added as a for integer. If you want to create a list for a string, so how can we do that? It's simple. List of a string, let's say str list is equal to new list of a string, and then we can specify, let's say Delhi, okay,
Yeah. Oh,
Mumbai,
no.
Chennai, Pune, like this. We can add the list like this way. So like this way we can add the string. Clear this? This is
Yeah.
about the list. This is about it. See, whatever functions we discuss here, same functions we can follow up in the sets also. Same
Okay.
functions like add function, sort function, the remove function. All the functions will be available for sets also.
Okay.
Okay, so you can follow that up. So if we talk about the functions, I'll just make a note of all the functions. I'll just write down the functions for you. For example, see, we have a function to copy. Whatever we saw, we can copy. We can create one copy and set a copy also. Now, what about the sets? Uh, yeah, here. I just write here sets function. And what about the sets function? Let's say add is here. Okay. Then
Right.
clear is here. There is
So,
a function called clone also to make a duplicate set. Right. And we have remove also. Right. Remove also. Function called size also.
Right.
Clear that? This,
Yeah.
like this.
So
Fine. Okay.
yeah. So sort, I think remaining in it.
So sort is also sorted. Okay. So that's the way we can customize it. That's the way we can. Now let's talk about the next type of collection data type, and that is called map, and which is a very important one when we talk about the map. So list, set, and map. So the map one is very important. The reason why do we need why it is very important? See, there's a challenge. The challenge is, for example, you're clear with this list one.
Right.
Okay. So let me clear all of them, and I'll just stick to this part only. See, we have 10 or okay. I just wanted to store the student names and their marks. How can we do that? I just want to store the student names and their marks, their numbers, you can see, or let's suppose employee name and their employee and their salaries. So in that case, we need to create either we need to create two separate lists, one for let's say name and one for salary. Okay,
Right.
so it should be like this. Let me remove this and I just create list of string. Let's say emp name, employee name is equal to new list of a string, and let's say Peter, Mike, Paul, Suzanne, David, for example, right? That is one.
Right.
And I create another list of, and I create another list of integer with salary is equals to new list of integer. So let's suppose the Peter salary is let's say let's say $3,000. For Mike it is 4,000. For Paul it is 2,000. For Suzanne it is let's say 2,500. For David it is 4,500, something like that. Now the thing is,
Right.
how do we map them? So what we need to do, we need to iterate. So I just write here for integer I is equals to 0, I less than emp name dot size. And the important thing is we always have to make sure that the number of elements in list number one and the number of elements in list number two will always be same,
Okay.
right? Otherwise, we always have to make sure that the number of elements will always be same. Reason, I just want to print the name and the salary. Name, like for example, I will be assuming this is the salary for Peter, this is the salary for Mike, this is the salary for Paul, this is for Suzanne, this is for David. Right. Now
Right.
let's suppose if I add one more salary here. Now whose salary is this? We don't have any element. There is no name.
Right.
Then it will throw an error. That's the reason whenever we work in this kind of example, whenever we work on this example, then the number of elements should be same in both the list. Now we'll print here system.debug salary for emp name of I plus is equals to plus salary of I, like this. Save this. Fine. And
Hmm.
open execute. Execute this. Debug. See, salary for Peter is 3,000. Like, let me customize this. Salary for is first to this. I'll just give a space. Formatting need to be done. But the, see, let's execute it now. Debug. See, salary for Peter is this, salary for Mike is this, salary for Paul is this, salary for Suzanne is this, salary for David is this, right?
Right.
Now if I wanted to know what's the salary for Pete, so what's the salary for Suzanne, then what we need to do, we need to do a mapping. We need to quickly do a mapping. Okay, this is for Peter, this is for Mike, this is for Paul. So then we'll tell you, okay, then you will tell, okay, the salary for Suzanne is 2,500. If somebody
Right.
asks you that what's the salary for Paul, Mike, then again you have to do a tracking mapping. Okay, the salary for Mike is 4,000. Don't you think it's a little complex process? Okay, it is a
Right.
little complicated. So what we'll do then? we will be looking for a solution here, easy solution. And that solution is a map.
Okay.
Basically, in map, we store the data in the form of key and value. It's like a, you can say, in map, we used to store the data in the form of key and its value.
But if we have the multiple data set here, we have only sales. Suppose we have the age, company, and multiple data sets,
So
and
then
we
we
have
have,
to map it.
no, in that, see, the thing is, in that case, we need to create then multiple list, right?
Okay.
But the problem is in the map, it's only in the form of key and value. So then we have to create multiple maps.
Right. So will it communicate with the one like
No, no, no.
unique value?
In that case, we need to create multiple maps. So the one which you are talking about, that is possible through JSON only.
Okay.
Okay, that is possible through JSON. The one which you are talking about, that kind of scenario will become that kind of scenario will be happen only by will be handled only by using JSON. In JSON,
Okay.
you have we have like a complete collection. So the one you are talking about is like this. You are saying that we can say name. Okay, we are saying that the name will be this. Name will be, let's say, Peter. Okay,
Right.
then we can say salary will be like this. Then we have the address will be like this,
Right.
salary.
So,
Then I can say
uh,
department.
yeah. Suppose Peter is unique value, and we are
That's right.
mapping it
So in
to the
that case,
elements.
this will be done through JSON. JSON will help in that.
Okay.
Got it? Yes.
Yeah.
So these things we have to handle. So we are going to, so we are talking about that. I'm going to handle this, we'll be going to handle this situation uh, by using map. How do we do this? So map is a collection data type. Map is a collection data type. And in order to handle this, we can use map. How? Map. So the first is we want to store name and their salary. So name is in a string format. So I just write a string and the salary will be in decimal.
Okay.
Okay. Then EMP data is equals to
So
EMP
here we
data is
use the float value as a decimal,
yes, float is a decimal. Yesterday I mentioned, remember that the salary will be the
but
numbers.
we write it decimal as well, right? Not the
Yes,
float.
we
Okay.
don't use the float. That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Right. So how do we do this? I just write new map string comma decimal. So what is this is our map. But in map, see the way we used to add the elements, the value into a list or in the sets, we don't do it here. If we want to add a value into a map, we have to always use a put method. So let's say emp data dot put. Now the first is a string. So Peter, comma 3000 like this. Okay. So we have to add the
Okay.
value like this. Peter, comma 2000. Now we want to add 1 to 5 elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Peter, then Mike, then Paul, then Suzanne, then David. For Peter, it is 3000. For Mike, it is 4000. For Paul, it is 2000. For Suzanne, it is 2500. And for David, it is 4500. Get it?
Mhm.
So like this way, we add the, now in order to add more elements, what we can do, we can iterate, we can use some iteration, or we can also do like this, that we fetch the data from the Salesforce object and store into a map. That is possible. We'll be going to see that example when we query the data from an object and store into a list or in a set or in a map. We'll see the example for that. But now See, we got so basically our map is ready. Now let's print it out. I just write system.debug and I just write emp data. Save this. And now when I execute this and run, see the final result. How does it looks like? You can see salary for Peter is this. See, David is equal to 4,500. Mike is equal to this. Paul is this. Peter is equal to this. Suzanne is equal to this. See,
Right.
that is a map. So the last line is a map. The last line is the output for a map. Okay. Now the
Yeah.
question is, how do we fetch the value from this map? If I want to get I just wanted to get the value from a map. Basically, I want to get the value of a map. So how do we get this? In this case, we will be using system.debug, and here we use empdata.get. So there's a get function. Okay.
Right.
empdata.get. And in this case, see the Peter, in this case, the first one, Peter, will act as a key, and the second, so you can say the first will act as a key and the second will act as a value. So it's in the form of key and value.
Okay.
So the Peter will act as a key and the 3000 will act as a value. So this get function, we always have to specify the key. I want to get the value of Mike. So what this will return? This will return the value associated to this Mike. So when we run, right, and when we debug, open execute, and see 4,000. See that?
Right.
So like this way, we always have to get the value of, so if whenever we want to get the value of any key, so we always use the get function.
Okay.
Fine. Now, what I want to do, I wanted to return all the key sets. I just wanted to know all the keys. So therefore, I write here system.debug and system.debug. I write emp data.key sets. Key set actually. emp data.key set. Save this. Debug. Open execute. Debug only. See, these all are the keys. We have David, Mike, Paul, Peter. These all are the keys. See, sometimes we would like to know what all keys do we have.
Right. So this is a small data set, Smith. If we have a long data set or huge data set, then
We
how we
always
gonna?
we always follow the same process then.
No, but here we enter the values like employee data, put
What I
Peter.
mentioned, we can iterate then. Let's suppose we create two lists. We fetch the value from one list. For
Mhm.
example, here we have two. Let's see, these are the two lists. Now, what I want to do, I want to create a map by using these two lists, right?
Okay.
For example, instead of putting value like this, what we can do, we can use the list also. So what I can do that, we can iterate then. So here we are iterating, like here we are iterating. I'll copy
Okay,
this.
we're using the for loop for that.
Yeah, we
Okay.
use the for loop, and then what we'll do, we write emp data dot put. Okay, then emp data dot put, and then I write the first is key. The first is key. So key is emp name of I, comma, emp name of I, comma, salary of I, like this.
Okay.
Key and value, right? And when I execute this, run, debug, see, we are getting the values.
Okay.
Right? So now it does not matter. It doesn't matter whether your list contain 1,000 record, 2,000 record, 5,000 record. It will always work.
Okay.
Got it? This always works. Like
Mhm.
this way, we can work on list, set, and now right now what we are doing, we will be manually creating the list. We'll be manually creating a salary.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there could be a scenario where what we want. Okay. For example, let's take an example for this. We got a sales application in Salesforce, and in the sales application, we got an opportunity. So my requirement is I would like to store the opportunity name with their amount, with the amount associated. Get it? And this I
Mhm.
want to store into a map. Or maybe I want to store the yeah, I just want to store this name with the amount, opportunity name and amount. Clear?
Yeah.
So how do we do this? So okay, now in this case, first of all, we need to query the data from the opportunity. We need to fetch all the records from the opportunity. Then only we can proceed. Get
Okay.
it? So, so for this purpose, what we'll do then, we will be going to take help of SOQL query. Here comes the concept of query, because what we want to do, we want to query the data from an opportunity. See, there are 33 items. Now there are two possible ways. Either we create list 1 and list 2, and then we copy the name from here and then amount into another list. So first of all, we create one list, we copy name one by one into one
Mm-hmm.
list, and then we copy the amount into another list one by one. Is it the correct approach? Do you think so? Definitely no, because in this case, you have to, this is a manual process.
Right.
Manually, like manual process is not good. Reason, right now we have 33 items. In future, if we got, let's suppose in future, if we edit any of these records, then what happens? We have to again go back and edit our list every time.
Right.
So we don't want to we don't want to perform any manual process here. We want to automate this process, and automate in terms of we want to get all the records, so query the records.
Okay.
Do you remember when we worked with the flows? In the flow, there was an option called in the flow there was a data element called get, and we used to query, we used to get all the records, and then we
Right.
iterate on that. Same thing we can do here. What we can do in Salesforce, there's a concept called SOQL query. What is SOQL in Salesforce? See, what is SOQL? See this.
Okay.
SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language, is a language used to search for specific records in Salesforce data.
Right.
Okay, it is similar to SQL, but it is customized for Salesforce data.
Right.
Okay, so we'll be using SOQL query. So SOQL query will be used extensively. You can say whether you work only in Apex, or you work for triggers, or you work for batch Apex, or you work for LWC components, or you work for integration. SOQL queries will always be used every time, you can say. So
Right.
there's a maximum use of SOQL query in sales, right? And
Okay.
in order to work on SOQL query, what we can do with, like SOQL, we can use SOQL query. We can use SOQL query in order to fetch the data, in order to get the data.
Right.
So now, for example, my requirement is I want to get the records from the, now, are we going to get one record or multiple records?
Multiple.
Multiple record. So what should be? We'll be using list, because you know that in list we can store multiple records.
Right.
Is it integer or string or number or decimal or float or what? We are querying the records.
So it's a string basically.
Yes. So what type of data it is?
String.
A string. But amount is not a string, or date is
Right.
not a string. Then, so in that case, what we can do, we can use object name. I can use a list of account, list of opportunity.
Okay.
So that means, what does this mean? This means we created a list of opportunity type, and in this opportunity type, in this list, what we can do, in this list, we can store all the records from opportunity object. And let's suppose I label this as OPP list. Get it?
Yeah.
So I save this as, I just create a list name as OPP list. Now what will happen in this OPP list? In this OPP list, we will be going to store the data, all the records from opportunity. So this will act as a collection, is equals to, and here we need to write query. We need to write SOQL query. As you can see, what is SOQL query? It's a language used to search for specific records in Salesforce data. The SOQL queries always define in square brackets like this.
Okay.
Okay, SOQL queries always define in square brackets. And how do we write queries? Select.
Data
Select.
type.
Yeah, field names. We have to specify the field names. So select.
Okay.
I want opportunity name. So now let me
Mm,
go and check the API, and we always use the API name. We never use the labels. Okay, we always use API names. So opportunity name. See, opportunity name. What's the API name? Name.
name.
Select name, comma. Next field I want is name and amount. So amount. Amount is amount. So select name, comma, amount. Got it? If you can fetch multiple fields. So select name, comma, amount from where? From which object? From opportunity object.
Yeah, but
From opportunity. Now, when we run this, what happened? This is a SOQL query, and this query will fetch all the record. It will fetch all the records. There are how many items? There are 33 items. It will fetch all the 33 items, but only two fields, name and amount, and store into OPP list.
okay.
This is a list which contains name and amount from opportunity. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, first is I want to iterate. I just want to print. So I just write here system.debug and OPP list. But the problem is this OPP list contains 33 records. And when we run this, the debug statement has limitations. It can display only few, it can store only few number of characters.
Okay.
So let me show you when I execute this. And when we debug, you can see opportunity name, amount, ID, currency code, opportunity name, see. But what happened after a few of the records? See, it ends up here.
Right.
So there's a character limit in debug. So therefore, what we want, I just want to now I want to iterate on this record. I want to iterate on this list and display all the records from this list. So how we can do that? We can use for loop. For
Okay.
remember, I've told you about the we have two ways. Either we can use we can print by two methods. There are two ways. Either we can do it like this or we can use this one. Either way is fine, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to use the, in this case, I'm using the second way. So I just write for, okay, here in this example, because this num list, this is a list, and this list only contains
Integer
elements
value.
of yeah, integer value. That's why I declare that's why I declare a new variable of integer.
Right.
So here also, this list only contains the record from opportunity. So what should you do then? For opportunity O colon OPP list. Is that clear?
Right.
Now, okay. See, the meeting is going to end. Let's quickly rejoin the session.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So now what happened here? This OPP list, it's a list, it's a collection variable, and it stores the data from opportunity. So therefore, for opportunity O colon OPP list.
Right.
Okay. And why do we do this? Because this OPP list also contains the data from opportunity, and this O is also an instance of opportunity. So that means this O can refer all the records from this list one by one. And how now what I can do that? I just write system dot debug O. Save this and run. See, can you see all the records are here?
Right.
Now, what is the requirement? Our requirement was we need to store these. We want to store this list into. We want to store this list into a map.
Right.
So how can I do that? Let me create a map here. Map string comma decimal opp map is equals to new map of string comma decimal. Fine. And what
Right.
we can do, we can add the value. We can store the value into this. So how do we do that? Opp map dot put. We need to now we need to specify the fields. Fields means o dot name comma o dot
Before that, we were using the get. Now we are using the put. What does that mean? I didn't understand that.
get. Get is different. Put is different. Here I use put, and for get is different. Put is to add the record. Get is to get the value.
Okay.
So I'm using put only. I use get here only to fetch when we want to get the value of a key, then we use get. But if you want to add the value into there, we use put, right? Here. And now
Right.
I can just write here system.debug opp map. Save this. Execute. And here, here, line number 16. Here it is. Okay, line number 16 is here
Mhm.
because that. Let me comment it out. So it will print only line number 16 now. Here, see that? But again, only limited records. Okay?
Right.
So again, what we can do, we can iterate and display this. So iteration is fine. We can iterate on a map or we can print that. But now if I want to see all the keys, so what I can do then, I can use this method. I can use this statement that says system.debug opp.keysets.
Mhm.
Clear? opp.keysets. So keysets means it will display all the keys available in this opp map. Here are all the keys. Here are the names you can see. We can consider them as names. Fine.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the way we can use set and that's the way we can use list, set, and map. So map is basically for what? The purpose of map is to store the data in the form of key and value.
Right.
Okay. And because it's a map, so it can store only two things, either list map or the. Now you might you ask me a question that if you want to store multiple values, let's suppose I want to store the we have the amount. For example, we have the account opportunity name, and I want to store, let's say, the amount and the stage associated to that opportunity name,
Right.
right? So for that, first of all, what is the field called? The field called stage name. Stage name. That's the API name. But then what we have to do, we have to do a trick here. So what's that? So I fetch the name, amount, and state name from opportunity. Okay. But
Right.
the problem is in this OPP map, we can store only key and value pair. I cannot say amount, comma, O dot stage name. It's not, it does not work.
Right.
Okay. It not accept, it will accept only two things. See, it's throwing an error now. See, there's an error.
Right.
There's an error. Method does not. Okay. Because the map does not support more than two inputs, only two inputs, one key and one value. But now we want to store this one also. Then what we have to do then? So in this case, what we need to do, we need to create one more list. So what I'm going to do now. So basically in this case, there is we need to do a trick here. And what's that? We need to do a trick here for opportunity. I just create one more iteration and let's say OPP list. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let's suppose I create another list of, let's say, uh, list of, no, we need to store a map actually key and no, list is fine. So we need to store list and list, let's say, list of a string Okay, list of a string, and OPP data is equals to new list of a string. Fine, new list of a
Mhm.
string. And in this list, or in this file, OPP data dot add, we need to add what? We need to add O dot name, O dot amount, O dot amount plus space, let's say dash, okay,
Mhm.
plus O dot stage name, for example, name and amount and stage. Or instead of this,
Right.
I just use comma. So what we are doing, we'll add it into as a concatenate into this OPP data, right? And now
Mhm.
when we add, so name, and instead of O dot amount, uh, O dot amount. Now, now in this case, O dot amount. I no, I think we can use it here also. O dot amount plus comma plus O dot station. Let me see. Combination of amount and stage together. String comma string from map type. Yeah, the reason is it's a decimal. So then we have to convert this into string.
Okay.
Then we don't need this. If this works, then we don't need this. Let me see. See, no error. Then we don't need this. No need to.
Okay.
So what we did, we create a map, a string, and then
Just change the
string.
data type.
Yeah, just change the data type, and we added as a combination,
Right.
right? As a
So when we are printing these values or executing these values,
hmm.
so it's showing limited number of values. Is it executing all the data but showing the limited, or it's
Yeah, no, no, it's
executing
showing
the limited ones?
actually because we have a character limit in the debug state.
Right.
So what you can do then, you need to iterate on that. You need to iterate on the map and then display all the records.
But it's executing all the data,
Yeah,
showing the list, right?
yeah, definitely it's executing all the data.
Okay.
The data will be full only, as I mentioned, there's a character limit to display the result.
Right.
Now this way, when we run, let me comment this out, save this, debug, open execute, execute, and debug only. See, we are getting amount and stage, amount and stage. Fine. And if we want to print a value, so let's try this out. I just write system.debug opp map dot get. Here we have to specify the key. So let's suppose there's an opportunity call this one. So I just copy this one for testing purpose and paste the name here. I want to see the value for this one. Okay. Comment it
Yeah.
out. Save this. And when we debug, open execute, you can see debug. See, amount is this and the close one. So let's check it out. Amount is this one and the stage is we are getting
Close one.
like this way. So like this way we have to add like as a string, like concatenate.
Okay.
Okay. This is the way we can work on list, set, and maps. Fine.
It's only possible when data is string type,
Yes, data
not
is a
the
string. Obviously, because we are concatenating it. We are combining this
right.
together. So if you are combining, and this is a decimal, this is a string. So how is that possible that it would be decimal then? It would be string
Right.
then. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So let's stop it here for the day. In the next session, we'll be going to talk about the next concept, and the next topic we are going to continue working on SOQL. We'll see a couple of examples on SOQL. We'll see how do we create subqueries or nested queries using SOQL. And I will also tell you the different ways that how can we generate, because how to generate the SOQL queries, because see what happened here, we have to write a query by copying the API name from the object. Okay.
Right.
So that's a time taking process. See, right now I just add only three fields, so it's okay. But let's suppose if you want to add multiple fields, then every time you have to get back to the object and then copy from there. It's not the correct way. So what's the
Right.
correct way to do this? That I'll tell you in the next session, that how can we quickly generate the queries and paste that query and bring that query here, so that it will save the time, because the development means